Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. What role can young entrepreneurs in the private sector play to combat poverty, to promote universal primary school education, and to empower women? We'll be back in just a moment to talk about these and other important issues. Welcome back to our program. There's a rapidly growing group of young entrepreneurs, not only in the United States, but around the world. They have a critical role to play in shaping the future, especially in dealing with issues such as climate change, poverty, and many others. Today, I'm going to talk to one entrepreneur to see what she's doing in this area. My guest today is Ms. Nicole Siobal. Nicole Siobal is the founder and CEO of a New York-based fashion technology startup, Enjoyye, Inc. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, Nicole Siobal was a marketing, communications, and branding specialist. Nicole Siobal, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thanks for having me here, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate you being with me, Nicole. Let's jump right into this. I was talking about young entrepreneurs. You're a young entrepreneur and a philanthropist on top of it. But what role do you see, just generally speaking, just philosophically speaking, for young people such as yourselves in focusing on some, not only building your business, but also focusing on some of these issues like reducing poverty or combating climate change, which are major, major problems. How do you perceive that?
I would say that in today's world, because millennials and our generation or the new generation have all this technology and access to information and all these different tools, I think most young entrepreneurs or professionals have this role of becoming innovators, right? They're the innovators of today's world. They can create different programs or companies that can really help the different causes around the world with this technology and the tools that they have. But they also have a different mindset going into it. Like 20 years ago, when you would talk about global poverty or doing anything for like nonprofits or volunteering, it was very, very still like in the small roles of like the young entrepreneurs, right? But nowadays, most young entrepreneurs come in and they also have a fresh mindset. So they look at these causes with a different perspective. So that's, again, why I want to go back into the innovation part. I think young entrepreneurs are becoming more innovators than anything else in this role.
Exactly. So the young entrepreneurs, they can create their own businesses, they can work on that. Correct. And it's not mutually exclusive to give something back to help other people and to have a philanthropical side of the business. You mentioned a very important point about mindset, and I think that is so critical. Years ago, you would see someone who would start a business and he or she would say, well, I've got to work on this for 25 years, make it successful, be a success in every way possible, then I'll start donating to charities and start doing things. But that is changing. This whole concept of corporate social responsibility is changing, is it not?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's because millennials nowadays have the technology, the resources, but also it's that connectivity, right? With technology, we've been able to have social media now where a lot of people can find out about all these different causes, and nonprofits can actually expose their causes to a broader audience. So I think it's becoming such a important part of anyone creating a business now. Like I think young entrepreneurs or the young generation is becoming more aware of wanting to do something that creates a bigger impact or helps others in need.
Exactly. Do most of your colleagues, or do they have that same mentality?
Absolutely.
Do you network together and talk about some of the same issues we're talking about today?
Yes. I think it's become such a passion to want to do something more and help others, right? So a lot of us always have like that same commonality is we're not going into business anymore to just make money or just create anything, right? But we have a purpose to do something bigger than what the company is.
Great. I've heard many people over the years say that we all have it doesn't matter what religion you are or not, whatever the case might be, but a lot of people say we have a moral commitment to sort of leave the earth a better place than we found it. And that seems to permeate this thinking, I guess, would it not?
Yes, of course. Especially now with, with all this different global sustainability and climate change, I think a lot of people are focusing more on trying to help the world, right, and into doing something that's going to help those causes. Which
is very noble. It's very, very appropriate to do that. Well, let's talk about Enjoyye Inc. ENJOYEE Inc. I guess.
Enjoyye.com. Yeah.
Inc.com. That's your website. We'll get to that in a minute. But what? Well, first off, what is Enjoyye Inc.?
So Enjoyye is a social shopping community that we created for just jewelry. And what we did is we created a space where jewelry lovers can actually go in and discover socially curated trends of jewelry that is curated by their community. But in addition, what we wanted to do is create a community that also promoted the art of charitable giving. So with that, what we did is we added an e-commerce component into our website as well. So our members can have an opportunity to not only shop on our site as well, but also find out about all these different nonprofits. We also wanted to give designers nowadays, established designers and up-and-coming designers, another way to promote their products and designs, but also help others in need. So 10% of our sales in our website goes, 10% is donated to a nonprofit that we feature during that time. So we actually feature 4 nonprofits at the same time.
Oh, okay. So now, do you rotate these nonprofits, or how do you do that?
We do. So we tend to rotate them about every two to 3 months. Like I said, we just launched in beta, so we're still trying to refine our model. But so far, it's been great, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback, and people are really loving it.
Exactly. Are there very many other sites out there doing that? This is one of the first I've heard about, but I don't go shopping very often.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of websites out there that they tend to focus on helping one specific nonprofit. So what we wanted to do is really help other a variety of nonprofits, which is the reason why we created a model where we feature 4, because we wanted to also give the choice to our users. We wanted to give them a choice on which cause they felt more compelled to donate to. So it's really like a way for us to help nonprofits and also to help our community find out more about different causes than just one. So we wanted to focus on really connecting this global and domestic charitable world, not just like focus on one local specific one.
Okay, and of course our viewers can go to enjoyee.com and get more information on that. What are some of the nonprofits, or maybe not, you may not want to name them, I don't know if you do, if you're not, or what types of fields are they working in?
Some of the nonprofits that we work with tend to focus more on global women empowerment. So one of them is actually Project Heal, who focuses in finding resources or actually helping women battling eating disorders with their self-confidence and so forth. And other ones like Move This World, they really tend to focus more on like helping at-risk kids find a way to really, it's more of like ending global poverty, not global poverty, but more of like helping at-risk kids find a way to get through like their issues, their everyday issues, through like the art of movement and dance. So each company, or not company, but nonprofit that we work with has a completely different cause. They tend to focus on women empowerment, education, global poverty, etc. But we change them around. So we don't like to just focus on one.
Exactly. You've covered the waterfront. I need to correct myself. I got a little bit ahead of myself. It's ENJOYYE.com. Okay, I think I put 2 E's in there earlier, so let me get it out correctly this time. How do you pick your nonprofits? Do they come to you? If someone's interested in this, can they come to you and say, we'd really like you to feature us for however long you do it, or do you just look around and say, well, here are some people who are doing some great work, like the UN Children's Fund with maternal and child health care programs, or something like that, or some other group, whatever it might be, a group on human rights, or whatever the case might be. How do you pick them?
We tend to have different types of ways of doing this. What we do focus is having a diversified group of nonprofits, so our audience can also have a way of connecting with each of them. So it's different causes. There's a lot of different things that go into it. Some of them might be referred to us. Some of them we may have connections with, or we may have found out about through like a social media, campaign. But we have a different ways, not just one way of how to do it. But we also tend to focus on nonprofits that are not as big as, like, I say, like a Susan G. Komen, right? We want to focus on the nonprofits that still need that help to be exposed and to promote their causes, because marketing is such an expensive tool for most people, right? So a lot of nonprofits, starting nonprofits, don't have those dollars to actually promote their causes to a larger audience. So we tend to have a few different things in mind before we go in and pick each nonprofit.
Very good. And if some of your other colleagues are doing the same type of thing as far as featuring nonprofits, do you share them? Do you say, well, we featured X nonprofit for 2 months. Now somebody else will say, well, we'd like to pick them up for 2 months. Is there any type of
we actually don't.
Like
no.
I
mean, I think for that it's a completely, I think certain companies tend to focus on specific nonprofit because they have a personal relationship with them. So no, that's not something that we normally tend to do.
Exactly. Now we're in the United States. We're talking about you're a U.S.-based operation. You may be international, I guess, if you're on the web. You certainly are. But are you aware of other activities like this in other areas of the world? Do you have other colleagues doing things like this, perhaps in Spain or perhaps in Trinidad or wherever it might be? Are they following the same type of model?
We're not the same type of model. So far, I haven't seen anyone doing exactly what we're doing, but there are a lot of companies out there that are really focusing on, on the social responsibility component of a business. So there are a lot of different companies that I know that are doing this in the global scale, in different countries as well, but not exactly the same way we're doing.
Exactly. Well, you're watching Global Connections Television, which is an independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guest. Today, we're taking a look at what young entrepreneurs in the private sector can do to promote, combating poverty, climate change, and many other problems that are confronting us. And my guest today is an expert in this area. My guest today is Nicole Siobal, and Nicole Siobal is the CEO of Enjoyye, Inc., and she's been involved in this initiative for several years now. Nicole, we're talking about problems. We're talking about poverty. We're talking about empowering women, talking about a variety of other things. If we think back to 2000, we think about the UN Millennium Development Goals that were created and by the majority of the member states of the United Nations, and former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, Kofi Annan was involved in this. And it was over a 15-year continuum. And these were very logical, quantifiable goals to reduce abject poverty by 50%, to promote universal primary school education, to empower women, to work on reversing the AIDS epidemic, to reduce infant and maternal mortality rates, to really promote sustainable development, and included in that is climate change, and then to promote international partnerships. Did any of these goals factor into your thinking? You've heard of the Millennium Development Goals, you're familiar with them, but when you were doing this, did they play any role whatsoever in you focusing on how you wanted to structure your business and what you wanted to do from this charitable standpoint? Yes,
absolutely. I think that, one of the things that you mentioned was women empowerment, right? Nowadays, in the technology world, specifically in the startup world, women empowerment has become like the new topic to talk about, because women equality is a big issue, right? So a lot of these different factors did come into play when we were doing this, but not one specific one. Overall, we just looked at the issues and we wanted to focus and really try to figure out a way to promote all these different factors into our website. right? So.
Exactly. And I mentioned sustainable development, and it seems as though that every mission statement I've read of various corporations, of nonprofits, charitable organizations, service clubs, everybody, it seems sustainability, sustainable development are in that mission statement to some degree. And how important is that as far as just looking at that whole concept of sustainability in your businesses, other businesses, and businesses around the world?
It's very important, right? Because sustainable development and climate change too, right? It's something that really affects all of us in a broader scale. Is not just a specific organization or a specific country, right? It's something that we all have to face. So it's a very important issue, and I believe that most companies can help those causes by really informing their company and their teams on how to view these issues, so they can also change the way that they act. So maybe volunteer at a nonprofit that's really helping this causes, or recycling, or little things like that can really help their corporate company change, make a change in some sort of way. But it's something that's really important to all of us, I think.
Exactly. And as we move further into the 21st century, this whole concept of sustainable development, especially the climate change part, is going to be so important. And every business is going to be dealing with it, because climate is changing. There's no doubt about it. The scientific evidence is in, and it can affect the way businesses operate, or whether they even can operate, depending upon where they are. We won't go into that whole litany of what could happen, but anyway, it is so extremely important that we focus on that. Well, I wanted to mention one thing, give you a kudos for, and I want to make sure I get this right. In 2010, in Washington's Life magazine's Young and the Guest list, you were listed as an influential, quote, mover and shaker under 40. Why did the magazine list you? What did you do for your philanthropical activities?
Well, this is more of a social, list, I guess, as you want to call it. But I believe, I don't know exactly how they pick the people that they choose for this list, but at that time, I was really, really involved in a lot of different nonprofits. I volunteered my time to specific nonprofits, and so I did a lot of PR and communications volunteering for different nonprofits in the area. So I think that's kind of one of the things that they looked at, that I was really involved in that community, so they put me in the list. But.
Exactly, right. And you mentioned you've been working you're working in marketing and branding for a variety of nonprofits. How did you enjoy doing that? Was that a rewarding period?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not financially, but otherwise, did you really enjoy doing that and interacting with a wide range of people?
I loved it. When I was back in corporate America, I was one of those people that you would see working nonstop, because after work I would go in and volunteer my time, and I would be up until 3 o'clock in the morning, whether it was writing a press release or promoting some sort of campaign or doing something that I was passionate about. I think the reason why I enjoyed it so much is because not only was I able to create and do something that helped others in need, but it was really well received, but it was like I really knew that it was helping, and I didn't expect anything in return. I think sometimes when you go to work, you're going to work, you're getting that paycheck, and sometimes you love what you do, sometimes you don't, but with this, is something that you're just passionate about, right? So it's a little bit more rewarding than just working for somebody.
Exactly. There are many types of rewards. You get financial remuneration, but you can also get psychological remuneration and really feel that you're making a contribution, that you are helping to create a better world. And we all have a role to play. Everybody on the planet, to some degree, probably could help create that better world, and we need to start focusing perhaps a little bit more than we have, or myself, I'm talking about myself at this point, in the future in doing that. But it is extremely important that we do that, yes. And we were, we were talking about marketing and branding and that type of thing. And looking at the young entrepreneurs today who are setting up their businesses and what have you, do you find that, well, first off, what do you find is some of the major opportunities for the young entrepreneurs? Then we'll talk about some of the challenges. But what are some of the major opportunities available to them, not just in the United States, but around the world?
Again, we have to go back to technology. I think I think with, technology and just, what everyone has available nowadays with the tools of social media, for example, that's a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs to really connect with people that they admire and have been doing this, right? So there is the opportunity of not only connectivity, but there's an opportunity of having all these different resources available to you right there. I mean, the web overall is like a huge opportunity for anyone that wants to start a business, because that's how you start researching and you kind of get started. So there's a myriad of different opportunities. There's a lot of opportunity right now, but yeah.
Exactly, yes. And this whole issue of information communication and technology, this is, we look at where we were 15, 20 years ago, and just think of where we are today. And where do you think you're someone who's very media savvy, you know the social media, where do you think, or if you're projecting, looking over the horizon, what do you think we'll be doing in 10 or 15 years from now? The way it's accelerating so quickly.
I'm not like a genius that can predict the future, but I definitely think that our world is going to be even more connected. Nowadays, you hear a lot too about virtual reality. I don't know if you've heard about this, but I think what we're going to be is more of being able to connect in a deeper level, in a more direct way, and being able to really, as a community or as a society, create things that are even more impactful, or tools that we can create that are more impactful to help us reduce whatever causes are affecting our societies. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I think that would be it.
Exactly. Well, we talked about some of the opportunities for the young entrepreneurs. What are some of the challenges? Do we have enough time?
There are a lot of challenges. I'm not going to lie to you. It's something that is, entrepreneurship is not an easy road. I think the first challenge will be yourself, because you have to have a sense of fearless attitude. You have to really jump and do what you're scared to do. But also another challenge in the broader aspect is this competition. Because of all this technology, there's tons of competition out there. Everyone's an entrepreneur now. Everyone wants to be a startup. Nowadays, you see younger kids dropping out of college because they have those tools to become an entrepreneur. So competition is a challenge, and also funding. It takes, sometimes you hear these great stories that people, do create these great apps or whatever it is, or companies with very little funding. But for the most part, it doesn't happen. Like you have to, capital is a big challenge for most entrepreneurs on how to get to the next level. Yeah, I mean, I can go on a long time for a lot of things, but funding, I would say competition, fear, self-belief will be some of them.
Exactly right. Well, with your services, products that you have and services, first off, what are some of them more specifically, and are there other challenges that you have in getting that message out?
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot of challenges. Luckily for us, I do have a background in marketing and PR, so getting, the word out there, it's been a bit less challenging for us. But we face challenges every other day, whether it's technology, or whether it's funding, or whether it's, we're constantly, there's all these different things, or whether it's not having enough staff to help us do a specific project. Because as a startup, we normally only have a few people helping you out. So but we just keep going.
Exactly right. So even you're selling jewelry, you still have to get it out there, get the idea out, and reach the consumers and the people who have an interest in this particular product. So it's very important to do that. Yes. Well, the whole situation with the young entrepreneurs, and we're about out of time, but just very briefly, do you think there's a new mindset today? Years ago, so often people graduated from high school or college, whatever the case might be, and they wanted to get with a corporation, with a company, really a bona fide company that's been in business for years, work 25 years with that company, retire, get a gold watch and a nice retirement, or whatever the case might be. Is that mindset changing? That's not the mindset of the millennials, is it?
Yeah, no, I actually, I believe it's changing quite a bit. You know, like you just said, back in the days, we all just got out of college and looked for a corporate job, and you know, obviously what really mattered was the name of that job, that company. Nowadays, I feel that millennials are going out and looking more for startup jobs, and the reason why is because they're excited. First of all, they're excited about what that company is doing, but they also know that they will be able to be heard in that company. You know, you don't have a lot of corporate ladder, right, where everyone's. So yeah, I mean, I think that that is something that
is, it is certainly changing.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Well, Nicole Siobal, it's been fascinating talking with you about young entrepreneurs and philanthropists. And I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us today on Global Connections Television.